For many people, the choice when buying an adventure bike is you go and buy a BMW R1200 GS. You might have to make a bit of a decision between the standard one and the adventure model. The adventure model having a bigger tank, a little bit more weight, a little bit more features, but essentially very, very much the same motorcycle. Now sure, other manufacturers make their adventure bikes, but really the 1200 GS is the machine that everything else is compared to. It's the baseline for adventure motorcycles. So why does BMW make the F800 GS and F800 GS Adventure? Well, we're going to go for a ride and find out.
So Nigel, this is your F800 GS Adventure for the next few days. Unfortunately it's not shiny brand new because it just came in from the first 2 days of safari, but I've just fueled it up. I'm just putting the tank bag on it, and I can run you through what we've got for you before we go into the rider's briefing. So basically it's the new model. It's pretty standard. All we put on it for the safari is a tank bag, headlight protector and a heavy duty bash guard. And apart from that, all these crash bars, the wide pegs, the flip down brake lever, the spotties, the big screen, everything's standard. The adventure model different to the normal 800 model. Key things are massive tank, just 24 litres to the brim. So on an engine like this, you really are capable of 550 to even 600k range, depending on how you ride it. So really fuel efficient engine, big tank, great for the outback. It's probably the ideal bike to go trekking in the middle of Australia. The big screen, the extra weather protection is standard on the adventure models. The auxiliary riding lights give you extra oomph at night from a lighting point of view. Crash protection, wide foot pegs. Pannier rails are all standard, spoked wheels are standard, knobby tyres are optional on this model. So that's pretty much your bike for the next few days. And based on the feedback so far, I think you're going to have a ball. I'll run you through a few of the new features in the morning, but we've got a new riding mode package which is more substantial than the previous model, more closely aligned with the 1200s. So you've got rain, road, enduro and enduro pro. So 2 on-road modes and 2 off-road modes to give you a good electronics package, being ABS and traction control for lots of different situations. So looks like we might get a bit of rain, which will settle the dust, and looking forward to another few days and we'll end up in Noosa.
So those modes Miles was talking about include Enduro Pro, which lets you lock up the rear tyre while keeping ABS on the front, and that means you can slide it around in corners. Makes it much easier to ride in tighter conditions like single track. The bike overall is much easier to throw around and is better off-road than the 1200 because it's got a 21-inch front wheel rather than the 19 on the 1200 models. It's also quite a bit lighter, and when you're standing up on those foot pegs, it does feel a lot more like a big trail bike than a monster adventure bike like the 1200s. So who should seriously consider an 800 over a 1200? Well, if you never carry a passenger, the 800 is almost as capable all the time as a 1200. If you spend more time off-road than on-road, the 800 really comes into its own. If you want something that's a little bit cheaper than a 1200, the 800 is your bike. I really enjoyed my time on the new 800 GS Adventure. The changes that BMW made are evolutionary rather than revolutionary, but it does make for a very good bike for adventure riding in Australian conditions.